Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining our meeting. Today it's another meeting of the Bird Habitat Lecture Series, and it is done by our division manager Savith Archana. He studies in Bandana College. Uh, so now I will be handing over to him so he can explain about grassland habitats and what birds we can see in it. So yeah, you can take.
Thank you for the introduction, Anwas. Hello and good evening, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. I'm Savith Archana. So today also we have a lesson regarding the habitat lecture series. As you can see, it is grassland habitat. So simply, grasslands are areas where grasses rule and trees are sparse, which means there are more trees. There aren't that much trees, but there are grasses instead of trees. Grasslands are one of the most widespread of all the major vegetation types of the world. This is so, however, only because of human manipulation of the land has significantly altered the natural vegetation, creating artificial grasslands of cereal crops, pastures, and other areas that require some from the repetitious unnatural disturbance such as cultivation, heavy grazing, burning, or moving to pursuits. Now let's see some key characteristics of grassland habitat. Uh, so here the vegetation structure is dominated by grasses and there is a semi-arid climate. Semi-arid climate means the region where the rainfall is low but not much as deserts. And rainfall and soil insufficient support significant tree growth, most common at mid-latitudes and near the interiors of the continents. Grasslands are often exploited for agricultural use. And there are three types of grasslands, which are temperate grasslands, tropical grasslands, and steppe grasslands. Temperate grasslands are also known as short grass prairie biome, and tropical grasslands are mostly known as savannas, and steppe grasslands are the grasslands of Asia. Of all the of all the different biomes on Earth, it is the temperate grasslands that you are mostly likely to encounter on a regular basis, or might affect your life. While there are larger biomes such as aquatic one, the temperate grasslands are mostly closely involved with sustaining human life. Temperate grasslands are one of the most important biomes to understand. They play an important role in our survival. They also play an important role in helping to manage climate change. Our relationship with them as a species has not been defined by informed use. That isn't matter of mankind not caring about nature, but it was only within the past 30 years that we had the technology and data to really see how species and biomes interact. Now, what are temperate grasslands? Temperate grasslands are one of the three types of grassland biomes. While all of these types share features of being bordered by a desert and a forest, are defined by a consisting geological plane. Con- uh, can you guys hear me clearly? It's showing me that my signal strength is low.
Yeah,
We
we
can
can hear
see
you.
you.
Okay, okay. Let's Now, what are temperate grasslands? Temperate grasslands are one of three types of grassland biomes. While all of these types share features of being bordered by a desert and a forest, are defined by a consisting geological plane, plus have unusual rich and deep soil. Temperate and tropical grasslands are very different. Temperate grasslands are located in the northern hemisphere. They are also called as prairies. Temperate grasslands have a distinct season pattern of growing and dormancy. Temperate grasslands can have a wide range of temperatures that occur during the year as well. And now let's talk about the location. Temperate grasslands are located above the equator on the northern continents. One of the largest grassland was the US prairie land. Of the original prairie land in the country, only about 2% is left. This has caused serious concern among environmentalists and spurred renewed conservation activities. Temperate grasslands can be large or small. As long as the area is bordered by desert and a forest, it can be considered a grassland. Beside the US prairie, other famous temperate grasslands include the Russian steppes, wells of Africa, the pampas of South America, and the plains of North America. Now let's talk about the climate of temperate grasslands. Temperate grasslands have a mild range of temperatures, but they have distinct seasons. They have hot summers and cold winters. During summers, the temperature can be well over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The growing season covers the traditional spring and summer months, and temperatures in this biome vary greatly between summer and winter months. Uh, there are some periods that are distinctly hotter than this time, but the overall temperature is conducive to healthy plant growth. The fall and winter seasons can bring temperatures to as low as minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the dormancy season, and it is characterized by a dying out or hibernation of plants until the weather and soil warm in the spring. It receives about 10 to 35 inches of precipitation a year in the late spring and early summer, and much of it falls as snow in the winter. Animals. The wide expanses and adequate rainfall features of the temperate grasslands make it ideal for herd-based animals, such as the following. To exist, the largest herbivores include bisons, gazelles, zebras, rhinoceros, and wild horses. The natural carnivore like lions, wolves, cheetahs, leopards, and red-tailed hawks, owls, and opossums are also found in temperate grasslands and prey on big and small animals. Omnivores such as badger also thrive in this biome. These kind of animals eat rodents, snakes, frogs, insects, fruits, and roots. Areas of environmental concerns. Sad to say, but it is the temperate grasslands' importance to the survival of man that is its the greatest concern. As centers of human civilization, they have suffered under the growth of our population. There wasn't a great understanding of the balance that must exist to keep a biome strong as we increased our farming efforts and then cleared the land to build houses and industrial sites. Overgrazing by livestock is another area of environmental concern. About 47% of the temperate grasslands have disappeared beneath homes, highways, industrial parks, or they have been steadily being destroyed by population. Now let's talk about types of conservation efforts. One of the focus of climate science has been understand the nature of the balance needed to promote a healthy temperate biome. There are several conservation efforts underway today. The first one is open spaces are being preserved more today, and grasslands are considered for consideration for all development projects. And second one is endangered plants and animals have their habitat more vigorously protected. And municipalities are working to replant grass and revitalize soil where historical growth has caused harm. Climate change policies are addressing industrial and developing habits that have caused harm to the environment. It is only within the past 30 years that the science has begun to be able to create the type of models that can show the historical effects of man and climate change on the grassland and to show what may happen in the future. Our understanding of how important temperate grasslands are in maintaining life is also very new. With this information, policies and procedures are being changed to protect what is left of the temperate grasslands and to attempt to restore what we lost. Now let's talk about birds in temperate grasslands. The first one is Grasshopper Sparrow. It is a small, short-tailed, flat-headed sparrow found in weedy grasslands. Warm, buffy coloration with clean, unstreaked breast, with thin white earring and yellow patch above eye. Back and wings are patterned with gray and rufous. Easy to see when singing atop a shrub, but can be very secretive much of the year. Best detected by its dry insects like trill preceded by a few introductory notes, typically not in flocks. Next one is Bobolink. Breeding male is distinctive with black body, white rump, and creamy nape. Females are non-breeders and are distinctly different. Yellow-brown with fine streaking on breast sides and striped on head. Smaller than red-winged blackbird with shorter bill. Spiky tail feathers in the blackbird family, although often mistaken as a sparrow. Breeds in open fields, listen for males' bubbly song, often in flocks during fall migration, and departs early for wintering grounds in South America. This is the male bobolink. This is the female one. The next one is short-eared owl. Medium-sized owl, more frequently seen in the daytime than other owls, especially active around dawn and dusk when it flies lazily over open fields or marshes in search of small mammals. Overall, rather pale brown, palest on belly, with streaks and spots on wings and chest, large buffy patches near the wingspit, easily visible in flight. Females are darker brown than males and rarely heard vocalizing away from breeding grounds, where it makes a low series of hoots and a variety of harsh breaking noise. Okay, now let's talk about the tropical grasslands. Tropical grasslands are also known as savannas. Most savannas are caused by climatic patterns where there is a strong dry season for a large part of the year. Few trees survive in these regions, but most savannas do have some from of trees that scatter the landscape. Large tracts of savannas are also found in South America, India, and Australia. Now, where is tropical savanna found? Based on the line's 9F latitude, we have divided the world into three regions: polar, tropical, and temperate. Polar regions are the most northern and southern, which is between 66 degrees to 90 degrees latitude. And with temperate regions further towards the equator, which is 23 degrees and 66 degrees latitude. And tropic regions in the center between 0 degrees and 23 degrees, surrounding the equator line. The tropical savanna is found on various continents in the tropical region of our planet, alongside the equator at around 10 degrees to 20 degrees latitude, both north and south. Additionally, they are generally found at least than 500 meters above sea level. Now, what defines the tropical savanna? When we define a biome, we are interested in two things. One, the plant life presented, and two, the abiotic factors, such as precipitation and temperature that occur here. The tropical savanna is generally a large flat expanses with very few trees and a lot of grasses, at least 50% of grass coverage to be precise. Two distinct seasons, summer and winter, defines this biome with a rainy wet season in summer and a dry season in the winter time. The other defining feature of the savanna is the temperatures, stay fairly constantly between seasons. Even though the yearly average rainfall here is high, plant and animal life is limited mainly by water. This is due to the difficult droughts they must survive in the dry season, where wetlands and rivers can dry right up. And mainly plants die or go dormant, waiting rains, replenishing water bodies, and actually cause large areas to become flooded. A welcome change for both plants and animals that have undergone a lot of stress during the drought. Now let's talk about temperatures in the savanna. As mentioned, the temperature here remains fairly stable between seasons, with a maximum of about 2.5 degrees difference between distinct months. However, the daily temperature changes quickly drastically, and there can be 13 to 17 degrees differences between night and day. So the overall mean temperature is about 25 degrees Celsius to 27 degrees Celsius, with highs up to 30 degrees Celsius and lows down to 20 degrees Celsius. Soils of savanna. Surprisingly, the soils of tropical savannas are often poor, being low in nutrients and either lacking water or waterlogged depending on the season. In the rainy season, soils become such as and nutrients are pulled down from the topsoil, making it harder for plants to have access to them. In the dry season, there is a very little water in topsoil, although the deeper soil does manages to retain some. And the dry, dead vegetation causes many fires. These fires initially release nutrients to the soil, but it also burns away some of them in the form of smoke, and ashes are easily blown away by the wind. The low nutrient make nitrogen fixing organisms such as blue-green algae and certain bacteria really important. Nitrogen fixing organisms are able to take nitrogen from the air, the atmospheric nitrogen, that is unusable to most plants and turns it into unstable nitrogen or nitrates in the soil. Many of these nitrogen fixing microbes are in a mutualistic symbolic relationship with plants, where they help the plant get more nitrogen and the plant gives the carbon. It's a win-win. So types of soil vary between different parts of the savanna, from high iron utilities to clay heavy oxalate, as well as rocky and areas of almost pure sand. In general, savanna soils layers will look like this. You can see the picture here. This is the structure of savanna soil layers. And frequent fires. Since grasses get so tall and plentiful in the summer and die off in the dry season, there is a lot of falling of for fire. Fires are frequent here and are a huge part of water, shapes this ecosystem. Now, by frequent, we mean naturally every 1 to 5 years in most systems through human activity has increased this frequency. Fires occur most often not in peak dry seasons, but at the very beginning of the rainy season due to the lightning strikes that occur in the first thunderstorms. And the dry and dead vegetation that have yet to recover, perhaps opposite of what you would expect. Better places have more fire because they are more productive and end up with more vegetation, which makes for higher fuel loads when a fire does start. Nowadays, the majority of fires are caused by people, unintentionally and intentionally, burning to alter the landscape, such as to create fresh grass for livestock and to more easily hunt wild herbivores, has been occurring for a really, really long time. Interestingly, we think that the burning has gone on so long that the savannas we know today may be more anthropogenic than natural and could have at one time contained more shrubs and trees. So fire is pretty complex and does both good and bad in the ecosystem. First off, fire can kill many living plants and even animals, or in the best case, drive them out of an area. If a lot of plants and animals are killed, it changes the community significantly as the first things to colonize and area are probably different than before. and can often be invasive species. Many invasive species are great at taking over distributed habitat as well, though burning results in an immediate availability of nutrients. It burns off a lot of important ones as gas and smoke and changes the chemistry of the soil. Additionally, the ash that could replenish the soil easily blows away. This means fire can be good in the short term in the form of ash, but it depletes nutrients in the long run, especially if it's burned too often. Last loss of vegetation can lead to more erosions and higher evaporation rates from already dry soils. The good news is fires are often not intense enough to burn all the way to the ground. They mostly just trim off the top of the dead grasses. This means that small animals and the important roots and meristream of plants and can stay protected under the soil, and the area gets a bit of a cleanup and a fresh start. Many plants are many many plants are adapted to survive fire, and some even love it and depend on the reproduction. These are called pyrophytes. Certain seeds need fire to be able to germinate, and other use cues from the smoke as a signal to germinate and grow faster, since the fire has created a lot of space free of competition and possibly lower herbivore presence. Now let's talk about animal adaptations to tropical savannas. Animals adapt as a way to solve problems presented in the environment, either from abiotic stress or biological competition. Animals can have three types of adaptations: structural, psychological, and metabolic systems deal and behavior. They take to better survive in an environment. So, what adaptations do animals in tropical savanna have that enable them to live here? The dry season is a difficult time for animals. The fact that many plants go dormant or die in the dry season also means that there is a lack of food, and of course, they also have reduced access to water. They must either find a way to cope with little food and water or migrate to new areas. Many animals and birds migrate during the dry season to wetter areas, and they will congregate more heavily around water sources than they would in the west season. Giraffes, for example, do not have a migrate because they have involved a very long neck that allows them to eat from evergreen tree tops. They also have strong lips and long tongues that they have impressive control over, which helps them eat from plants with thorns and other defenses. On a similar note, uh, these browsers and grazers manage to coexist by having different preferences when it comes to food and where and when they eat. Animals also have to stay cool in the daytime heat. Elephants, for example, use physical adaptations like large ears to help heat escape their bodies, but also behavioral ones like taking dust baths to cool down. Other animals like hippos spend the day in the water and gaze at night. In fact, many tropical grassland animals are nocturnal, herbivores and carnivores alike. As well, a common behavioral strategy is to burrow underground and stay in the cool earth during the day. Like meerkats and many reptiles, smaller animals may also reside in burrows to hide from predatory birds that do very well in these large open spaces where they have wide, clear views to search for prey. Hot air abdoves to help them soar, and essential resting and nesting sites in the trees are that are present. Animals that burrow and some that don't also look for their food below ground when vegetation gets scarce, digging for roots and tubers and other vegetation that will also have a higher water content than the above ground plant tissue. Around the world, savannas are threatened by human actions like logging, development, conversions, uh, overgrazing by livestock, and introducing of non-native plant species. For example, in the drier parts of the African savanna, overgrazing by goats and cattle has removed most of the vegetation that holds the soil in place. This has created desert-like conditions, and most of the southern east United States long leaf pine savannas have been affected by logging. So how can you protect savannas? Here are some ideas. Respect and conserve grasslands where you live, and learn about savannas and teach others about them. Or you can volunteer for savanna restoration project, and also support conservation organizing that protect savannas and plants and animals that depend on them. Now let's talk about the birds. Sri Lankan white eye. A small greenish white eye with a bold white eye ring and yellow throat. Usually encountered in active flocks within the canopy of forests and neighboring wooded areas in the hills and mountains. Similar to Indian white eye, but Sri Lankan white eye is larger, longer billed, duller overall, particularly on the throat and belly. Also generally greener and lacking the yellow forehead of Indian white eye. Frequently vocalized, song is a jumble of fast paced chuck 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 notes like high pitched chirp and the next bird, corn-billed tanager. Recently discovered tanagers. Males are black and white with a whitish gray bill and small white wing patch. Females are uniformly olive brown with a darker bill, found in seasonally flooded forests, along rivers, and in gallery forests, but always near water. Forages at lower levels, but also perches in the tops of trees, and feeds on seeds, but also has been reported fly catching. The song begins with a series of low notes and finishes with a thrill. Okay, the next bird, white-tailed hawks. It's a streakingly patterned raptor, usually found in open grassy areas for agricultural fields with scattered bushes. Wings are long and pointed but broad at the base, which makes the tail look relatively short. Adults are clean white below with gray upper parts and rufous patch on shoulder. Tail is white with a black band near the tip. Young birds are darker with dark markings on the belly. Especially note that dark gray wings, pale grayish brown tail, and wing shape. Hovers more frequently than other large raptors. Widespread in Central and South America. Limited range in US. I forgot to show you something. This is the female corn-billed tanager, and this is the male one. Okay. Okay, now let's move on to our next topic, steep grasslands. Before that, this is the world map of temperate grasslands and savannas. Now you can see we Sri Lankans now see this Asia part. The India has savannas and tropical grasslands, but here it has temperate grasslands. Now, which clearly means they are not temperate grasslands in Sri Lanka, because to form a temperate grasslands, that temperate grassland should be bordered with uh, deserts and forests, but they are not deserts in Sri Lanka. So that's why they are temperate grasslands, but there are savannas. Okay, I'll give you some examples later. Now let's move on to our next topic, steep grasslands. A steppe is a dry grassy plains. Steppes occur in temperate climates which lie between the tropics and polar regions. Temperate regions have distinct seasonally temperature changes with cold winters and warm summers. Steppes are semi-arid, meaning they receive 25 to 50 degrees centimeters of rain each year. This is enough rain to support short grasses, but not enough for tall grasses or trees to grow. Many kinds of grasses grow on steeps, but few grow taller than half a meter. Now let's talk about one steep in the world. It is the largest temperate grassland in the world, is the Eurasian steppe. And extending from Hungary to China, it reaches almost 1/5 of the world way around the earth. The Eurasian steppe is so well known. The area is sometimes referred to as just the steppe. The Eurasian steppe has historically been one of the most important routes for travel and trade. The flat expanses provide an ideal route between Asia and Europe. Uh, Caravans of horses, donkeys, and camels have traveled the Eurasian steppe for thousands of years. The most famous trade route on the Eurasian steppe is the Silk Road, connecting China, India, and Europe. The Silk Road was established around 200 BCE, and many Silk Road trade routes are still in use today. During the 13th century, Mongolian leader Genghis Khan conquered almost the entire Eurasian steppe. With expert horsemen, Khan conquered territory from his home is what is now Mongolia, through China, Central Asia, and the land around the Caspian Sea. The equestrian culture that was so important to Genghis Khan is still important for most cultures native to the Eurasian steppe. From the Mongolian traditional in the east to the Cossack traditional of Western Russia, these cultures have relied on horses for travel, trade, and conquest on the vast steppe. To this day, many festivals and taken community activities focus on horseback riding. Okay, now let's talk about birds. Okay, the steppe eagle, a large eagle with rich brown plumage, wide wings, and seven well splayed fingers at the wing pit. Adults are entirely dark brown. Juveniles and immatures at rest show a distinctive white band bordered with black on the wing. In flights, this transforms into a white traverse band on the underwing that forms the base of the primary and secondary feathers. Birds take about 4 years to attain adult plumage and frequent open grasslands, deserts, shrubs, wetlands, and mountains, and is regularly caught as feeding along the vultures. Next bird is European roller. It's a very beautiful bird. So it is an uncommon to locally fairly common summer migrant to warmer regions. From winter grounds in Africa, favors open and semi-arid country with scattered trees and wooded patches. Feeds on larger insects such as grasshoppers and mostly seen singly or small groups, singularly or in small groups. Perch on bear snags, wires, and other prominent perches also on the ground. Spectacular and distinctive, overall brilliant blue with rusty back, stout crow-like bill, and juvenile plumage duller overall. Okay, now let's move on to the next bird, the lesser kestrel. Shape very similar to Eurasian kestrel, but tail slightly shorter than certain tail. Feathers project slightly and wings more rounded and shorter than Eurasian kestrel. Claws are white rather than black, and males are unspotted above with blue-gray patches on the upper wings and largely pale underwings. And females have an indistinctive mustache, but otherwise rather similar to Eurasian kestrel. Frequent and catches insects on the wing. This is the male lesser kestrel, and this is the female lesser kestrel. Okay. Okay. Now let's talk about some grassland birds in Sri Lanka. The first one is Cercia malcoha. This bird is this. Cercia malcoha is this one. It is a plain brown, long-tailed malcoha with a prominent red bill, and It lives in dry lowlands in southeast Sri Lanka and appears to have very specific habitat requirements. In Yala National Park, for instance, it can be seen in very specific locations like blue-faced malkoha, which okay, its voice is like a metallic pip that sounds like two pebbles being struck together. Uh, the next, but I actually have this information in a book. Okay, the next one is the blitz pipit, which is this one. Uh,
Yeah, Savith, are you there?
I'm ready, but I still can't share the screen.
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I think you can now.
Oh yes, I can. Okay. Can you all see the screen now?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So we were talking about the blitz pipit, which is this one. So it's a blunt-tipped median covers, and all are the key diagnosis. Streaked bands on upper breast seems fine and tidier compared with pediphield pipit. Blitz and Pettifield and Richard Pipits all have unstreaked bellies. Compared with Richard's bills of the species is finer, and it's recorded mainly from Udawalawe National Park, where it is a recurrent visitor. Uh, this is the Pettifield pipit. I don't know. I think you can see it from my camera. This is the Pettifield pipit, and uh, this is the Richards pipit. Can you see?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, this is the Richards pipit. This is the Pettifield pipit, and this is the Blitz pipit. Okay, the next bird is the yellow-eyed babbler, which is this one. But this picture, it's kind of orange. Okay, so looks like a misfit in the babbler family with its broad-based, short, stubby black bill and orange-red eye ring bordered with yellow, surrounded by white face except for brown cheeks, brown upper parts, white underparts, and yellow legs, usually in Paris. And it lives in tall grasslands and scrubs, and it is suitable habitat throughout Sri Lanka and expecting highlands, most prevalent in dry lowlands. And its voice is kind of like a musical song, quite unlike that the of other babbler species, like liquid like fluty notes. And it is a resident bird. Next bird, the next bird is the pied bunchlet. This one, okay. Uh, it is a male black and white with a prominent white wing bar and a white rump, and when females light brown with rusty rump. Female Indian black robins lack rusty rump and has a longer tail and behaves more like a magpie robin. The two types also do not share the same range, and grassland bordered with foresting. It lives in grassland bordered with foresting highlands, and its voice is kind of like a repeated soft chief contact call, soft song of repeated tremulous triple note, characteristic sounds of highland landscape, and it is classified as endangered on IUCN Red List. This is the talked about the Indian black robin. This is the Indian black robin. See, uh, this is the Indian black robin. Okay, so give me a second. I have to share something else. So these are some examples for grasslands in Sri Lanka. The first one is Gavaravira Plains, and second one is Moon Plains in Nuwara. You can see it's a very beautiful place. It's kind of like similar to Horton Plains. This is important plains. We all know about this, and yeah, so that's all I have to say for today's lesson. If you have any questions, I can ask, and you can ask. These are the references. So thank you everybody for joining for today's meeting, and I should especially thanks Anuhas for giving me this opportunity. And if you have any questions, you can post it to the chat box.
Yeah, I think there are. What are these places in Sri Lanka where grasslands are found? Yeah,
I
think
answered
you
to
answered
that.
them. What are the
Yes,
birds that can be observed in these Sri Lankan grasslands?
I also.
You also answered
Oh,
that too. What are the
yes,
mammalian
I also.
species found in Sri Lankan grasslands?
Okay,
It's not related to birds though.
give me a second. Birds. Birds living in the Sri Lankan grassland habitats are blue-breasted quail, and I talked about the pied bunchlet and Cercia malcoha, and also blitz pipit and plain trinia and yellow-eyed babbler. Okay, so oh sorry. We have a question. What are the mammalian species found in Sri Lankan grasslands? Give me a second. I have to search for it. Actually, I don't know about this. Please give me a second. I'm sorry. Oh, so the mammalian species living in these grasslands are we have cheetahs and also rabbits. Yeah, yes, rabbits and elephants. Uh, yeah, that's all I think.
I think it says Sri Lankan grasslands.
Yes, in the Sri Lankan grasslands I speak. I actually don't know about this. Anwas, if you know, can you please explain?
Actually, it's not the cheetah, it's the leopard. You can see in the grasslands. Cheetah can be seen in Sri Lanka. We can see Sri Lankan leopard. We can see the Sri Lankan elephant and black-naped hare, and the mammalian jungle cat and samba species. Gona in Sinhala.
Yes,
I
thank you,
think
Anwas. And
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
okay, thank you, Anwas, and thank you all of you for joining for today's lesson, and thank you for listening. And yeah, that's all for today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us, Savith. So we'll wind up our meeting today. So next week I'll be doing the Blood Habitat lecture series meeting, and it will be about tropical rainforests. So until then, goodbye everyone.